Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to people in other time zones. I'm Steve Farrell, the Worldwide Executive Director for Humanities Team, and welcome to the Living in Oneness Summit. It's great to be with you today. Boy, it's a beautiful day here in Boulder, Colorado. I hope it's gorgeous in your part of the world. I'm going to be interviewing a very special guest today, Kenley Niehm Hy. He goes by Kenley. Kenley's a Dharma teacher and associate of Thich Nhat Hanh. In 2005, Kenley was ordained into the Order of Interbeing, a Buddhist organization formed by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh as a lay member. Kenley received the Lamp of Wisdom, a teacher designation, from Thich Nhat Hanh and the Plum Village community in 2012. I'll be introducing Kenley shortly. We're all real excited about today's program and discussion. Again, great to have all of you with us here today. We have about 20,000 registered for today's call. Some cannot listen in live, so we send out a recorded link so these people can listen in later. Thank you so much, everyone, for prioritizing time to be here for this important conversation. Like each week, this call is interactive with each of you, our listeners, so I want to invite you right now to go ahead and put questions and comments in the question window on Instant Teleseminar. I promise we'll bring in at least a few of your questions here during the hour. Okay, a little about Humanities Team as we get started. In Humanities Team, we see there is only one presence, the divine, and see we are all offspring and expressions of the divine. This means God's love, light, grace, and peace are ours because there is no separation, and we share the same essence. We don't share this as something academic or intellectual. We believe everyone and everything is a beautiful and sacred face of the divine. Since our founding in 2003, we've done our best to live as one with the divine, each other, and our earth home. We don't need to be perfect. It doesn't have to feel heavy. We must only just work to do our best. When we talk about oneness with the divine, of course, this is true for all of life, not just humanity. This has repercussions for how we see ourselves, others, and the earth that is our home. This means everyone and everything is sacred and should be treated as such. It also means we're responsible for the world around us because, in truth, it's part of our authentic self, encompassing the whole of the earth. Perhaps there's nothing more important than this, coming to see ourselves as a cell in the body of the divine, the earth, and stepping into a role where we're caring for the earth and the world that we live in. This is important and urgent work. We are advocating personal development that crosses over into all of our roles, including that of partner, parent, and public service, but also institutional change so we live as one collectively and create a fulfilling, compassionate, and sustainable world. If you resonate with our work, we invite you to go to humanitiesteam.org, our website, and reach out to us about projects you'd like to become involved in. And again, that's humanitiesteam.org. Okay, please get comfortable as we begin our program. I'm now going to welcome our special guest. Welcome to the Living in Oneness Summit, Kenley. It's great to have you with us.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm very happy to spend some time with you today.
Awesome. Well, real excited to jump into this discussion. These hour-long programs go so fast. So let me just jump in here, Kenley. When we were talking here ahead of this program, you said in our community we really like to focus on the present moment, the breathing. There were other things you talked about too, but I thought maybe we could start there as just the present moment, the breathing in this Buddhist community where you're a leader. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. I think that one of the elements that we all struggle with in our lives is the heavy burden of work and family and the environment and politics and all these pieces that can often cause us to suffer but also bring us joy at times. And so what is a vehicle or a tool that we can use to kind of come back into the present moment and not be pulled into the future too much, where we're worrying and dwelling too much in the future, or we're concerned or unhappy about with something that happened in the past, and a recognition that everything exists right here, right now, in this present moment, and that we create our future in how we live today in this moment, and we also can change the past in how we live in this moment. And because we have the teachings of the Buddha that taught us about the full awareness of breathing as a tool to practice coming into the present moment, our teacher Thich Nhat Hanh focuses a great deal on that. And I think it's because it's one of those pieces that we don't need any. We don't need any. We don't need to remember to bring a tool with us or any kind of device because our breath is with us wherever we go. If we don't have our breath, then we're not. We're actually dead. And so the idea of using the breath as a vehicle to come into the present moment is very powerful and easy to utilize. And if we take a moment to do one conscious breath, that in and of itself will slow us down enough to come into the presence of our body and to be able to come into the presence of our breath and slow us down. And the in-breath and the out-breath are just a really simple way to arrive right here and right now. And then we can use that, that foundation of present moment breathing to explore whatever's happening right in front of us. And so even within the context of this conversation, we can use our breathing as an anchor through the conversation so that when I find myself being distracted by the other sounds that are happening around me in my physical space, or maybe you're anticipating what your next question might be, and how do we stay present through listening to what I'm sharing or what the question is that you're asking, and how do I stay present with the comments that I'm making. I can use my breathing as a mechanism to kind of just be here right now, and if I need to stop and pause, or while you're talking, I can just come back to in breath, out breath. And it's just a really simple, easy practice that anyone can do. And because of the relationship it has with the body, conscious breathing and deep belly breathing, if we can do that, is naturally going to help us to be more calm and more at ease than not having that presence. So that's just kind of a little bit of taste of why the breathing is a great vehicle to use, and when we can use it, and why it allows us to be more present with the existence of what's happening right here and right now.
Wow, beautiful, Kenley. We got pretty close to something experiential just listening to you. But can we go just one step out further? And we didn't talk about this, but would it work to do anything experiential with breathing, conscious breathing, or deep belly breathing, or something? Just a short experiential exercise.
Sure, of course.
As we're starting our day, a lot of people would love and appreciate that.
Well, what I like to do when I begin so I have a daily practice of sitting meditation, as many people do probably, and what I do when I sit down on the cushion or in a chair to come into the practice of training myself to meditate, I sit down and I come into awareness of my breathing. And so it is a simple thing that we can say in our mind as we're sitting there, and it can be something like this. Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. And breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In breath, out breath. Continuing to follow our in-breath, awareness of our out-breath. Just allowing it to happen naturally. No need to force it, just let it happen. And breathing in, my in-breath goes deep, and we allow that breath to go deeply into our body. And breathing out, our out-breath goes slowly. So deep, slow. And again, not really forcing it, just let it happen naturally. The breath is entering the body and exhaling. Breathing in, we begin to feel calm. And breathing out, we feel at ease. Body calming, feeling at ease. So if we take the time in our day, perhaps 1 minute is all it takes, really. And you memorize those few lines of focusing on your breathing. It's something that you can use throughout the day as you need a break or a chance to just kind of come back to the present moment, because most of us are occupied doing many things throughout our days, whether it's taking care of children or interacting with our colleagues at work, our parents or our spouses, our partners. All of those are opportunities to be present. And the training, the breathing exercises training, can help us to call upon that more easily when we're interacting with those around us. And so the little the lines that I just shared, I'll just repeat them again. It's breathing in. I know I am breathing in. Breathing out. I know I am breathing out. And you could use that for 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and as we follow the in-breath and the out-breath. And when we recognize that our mind is drifted away from our consciousness of the breathing, we can simply come back to that line of breathing in, I know I am breathing in, and breathing out, I know I am breathing out. And we do that without judgment of our mind, of what happened, that, oh, now I'm thinking about lunch, or, oh, now I'm thinking about the next thing I need to do. We just recognize that it's there because our mind is going to do what our mind does, and we pull ourselves back to our breathing because that's what we wanted to focus on. So that's the first line. The second one is breathing in, my in-breath goes deep, and breathing out, my out-breath goes slow. So it's a deep, slow. And then the third one I shared was breathing in, I feel calm, and breathing out, I feel at ease. So calm, ease. So we can memorize things like that, and then we can use them throughout our day as we need to practice and remind ourselves of the power, the flexibility, the joy of our breathing, that any moment is a moment that we can practice that, and we can smile to ourselves as we breathe, and the presence that we're bringing to ourselves and to those around us.
Beautiful. Wow, that was just awesome. So glad we took the time to do something experiential with you, going, she's mentioned breathing in deep, breathing out slowly, breathing in calm, breathing out at ease. Really a wonderful experience. That was great. Thank you, Kenley. And there's a lot of ground we're going to cover here during the hour. We're going to get to the Thich Nhat Hanh in Plum Village, where he's based. But first, let's keep it local here. You're, of course, in Southern California, and one of the things you shared, Kenley, is that taking care of our strong emotions and being in community are two of the things that are really essential there. And you're part of, you mentioned this, you called it a small community, but for probably most of us on the phone, we consider it a larger community. It's 8,000 to 10,000 people that is called Ojai, and it's there in Southern California, about 60 to 90 minutes north of L.A., Los Angeles. So, can we talk a little about this, taking care of our strong emotions and being in community and even just frame that around that discussion around how you're living together with these, I'm sure, incredible 8,000 to 10,000 people that are part of Ojai there in Southern California.
Sure. Well, let me just build on the breathing exercises in terms of our strong emotions. So I think that one of the pieces that we can use that breathing exercise with is when we have our strong emotions. And so many people, and myself included, are triggered by our experiences in the world, the people we interact with, or even the global space, how we're taking care of the earth or not taking care of the earth, and climate issues or war and conflict, and all of those things can bring up really powerful emotions, not to mention bringing it really local in terms of the people that we live with or our families. All of those pieces are part of our being human, that we feel anger or despair or frustration or sorrow. And it's not that those things are things that we should be pushing away, because they're part of who we are, and they're also part of what we need in order to also experience joy and happiness and peace. So there are two sides of the same coin. But what we can do with our strong emotions is recognize them, and so that when I know that I'm angry about something, or I'm really frustrated with something, that I can use the exercises of breathing to help myself calm down. And it's not to push away that anger or that frustration. It's to allow myself to recognize it and say, "Hello, anger. Here you are. How can I take care of you?" And to understand, to look deeply into the anger or the frustration that I'm experiencing. So in order to do that, it's really valuable to have a practice. And a practice, what I mean by that is some type of consistent means to train our minds and to train our bodies to know how to breathe and know how to live fully in the present moment, whether that's walking or sitting or eating. All these activities are opportunities to train our mind to be present. And so the regular practice of, for example, sitting meditation, so I shared earlier that I practice sitting meditation on a daily basis. Part of that is so that I can train myself to draw upon that energy of the sitting meditation at other times in the day when I'm experiencing life around me. And so it's kind of like if you want to play guitar, you have to practice. Well, if I want to be mindful in my daily life, I have to practice. And so I practice in the morning. I sit on a cushion and I do 30 minutes of sitting meditation, and that's my practice to help train myself in that. But a lot of us don't necessarily have the willpower or the capacity to be consistent with that and to stay really diligent in that training. And so that's where a community of people comes in. And so in our community of Plum Village and Thich Nhat Hanh, we have a Sangha. And a Sangha is simply a community of people who practice understanding and joy together, and may come together on a periodic or regular basis to support each other and to learn from each other and to study together. And so in my town where I live, Ojai, we have a Sangha. And our Sangha, we meet once a week, and people come together and we practice sitting meditation and we practice walking meditation, and we may share some teachings or some sharing, kind of like what we're doing here. And it's a really wonderful way to support our intention of practice, and that we're not having to do it alone, and that we're part of a community. For me, in my own personal story, I sat alone for probably 5 or 6 years without Sangha, without a community. And I was pretty diligent and was able to do it, and it was nourishing, and I learned a lot from just doing that on my own. But then when I began sitting with a group, when I started practicing in community, it completely changed so much of my understanding, my capacity for joy, my capacity for being present for others. It just completely transformed everything around my spiritual practice. And so I really can't speak highly enough of community, of Sangha practice, of being together in community to support each other and to nourish our understanding and nourish our peace and joy with other people who are trying to move in the same direction. And so the practice of Sangha is really, really key. And when I look to the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, he often has been asked, well, who's going to be the next Buddha, or when is the next Buddha going to come? And he was always fond of saying, the next Buddha will be a Sangha. And so there's so much power in that piece. And if we look back to historical teachings of the Buddha, we have what's called the three jewels, and it's the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And those three pieces are what comprise our practice, that we all have this Buddha nature, this capacity to be free, and that we have the teachings of the Dharma, and that we have a Sangha to help us explore that path together with other people. So it's through those practices of the Sangha and the training of our mind in terms of meditation, we're able to more easily and more skillfully take care of the suffering, take care of those strong emotions as they come up in our lives, as they inevitably will, because it's part of what it is to make us human. And so that's kind of how I see the pieces of taking care of those emotions and why Sangha is so important to that practice.
Yeah, awesome. Really awesome. You covered a lot of ground there, Kenley. I won't try and come back and underscore any of those points. I am going to come back actually in a minute to something you said, that something that's been attributed to Thich Nhat Hanh, the next Buddha will be a Sangha. We talked about that before this call. That is something that is getting a lot of attention and focus. But first, let me keep it at an individual direction. Here's a question from a listener. And by the way, again, listeners, if you have a question or comment you want to walk in, go ahead and put it in the question window on Instant Teleseminar. If you're on the phone, I think it might be 2 to raise your hand, but it could be 1. My partners, I've got some angels here with me, Nanette, Dee, and Monica, and they'll share what number you push on the phone to indicate that your hand is up. Here's the one question, though, Kenley. What would you suggest to someone who wants a community or Sangha and respects Buddhism but does not practice it?
Well, a Sangha does not need to have anything to do with Buddhism particularly. There are many practitioners in our community of practice that probably would not identify themselves as Buddhists, and in fact would probably, some would even clearly identify themselves as Christian or Jewish, and that they use the practice of our teachings of mindfulness practice and meditation to, it brings them joy and it brings them happiness, and they enjoy the community piece of it. And so that's not inconsistent or incongruent with each other. So, when I started my first Sangha, when I first wanted to sit with someone else and practice meditation, that was my only intention, really. I wanted to be able to have the support of another person or other people in my intention of practice of meditation. And, the catalyst moment for me in my personal life that moved me from sitting by myself to sitting with others was 9/11. And it was after 9/11 that I was just completely, it completely underscored our need and our the importance of taking care of each other and learning how to nourish understanding and love in another person. And so I reached out to, I heard of one other person in my community. I was living in another city at the time, and another person had wanted to start a Sangha. She didn't want to do it by herself, which is a good idea to have someone else, at least one or two other people. And we simply we picked a day, we found a location. Actually, we sat in our house initially, and then we went to a public place after that. And we picked a day, we picked a time, and we showed up every week, and we sat in meditation, and one of us invited a bell, and we would read a little something. We would share together for a little bit, and that was it. And it was a beautiful experience, and there was no it doesn't have to be difficult, and it doesn't have to have some special form to make it the right form, because there is no right form. There is simply this idea that we want to practice with other people, and if we're inspired by the teachings of the Buddha or the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh or the Dalai Lama or Pema Chodron, whoever these teachers are, if we're inspired by what they're sharing, then find ways to incorporate that into the time you spend together as a Sangha. And it can be as simple as, sitting for 20 minutes or 30 minutes together, doing a little bit of walking meditation, which is a beautiful opportunity to practice meditation with moving our bodies, and then sitting down again and sharing a short reading from something that has inspired us or has guided us or touched us in some way, and then taking a few minutes to share with each other, from our hearts, what it is that we're experiencing. What are our joys? What are we suffering with? And how are we transforming that suffering in our daily lives? And it doesn't have to have anything to do with Buddhism at all. It's one of the beautiful things about what the Buddha taught and how we can live our lives. That the truths, that the truths and the path and the teachings can be embraced by anyone, regardless of your what you believe or what you don't believe. That there's no need to fit into some square or circle to make it fit for you. That you can, incorporate those pieces that nourish our spirituality, our divine, as you had shared so skillfully earlier. So I think that I think we tend to complicate things, and I would encourage people to not complicate things. Just let it. And the other piece is to experiment. To be willing to try something. And if it works, fantastic. And if it's something that's like, well, this isn't quite right, or maybe we should try something different, or maybe we learn from someone else, like, oh, this is what they do. Well, let's see what we can do here. So I think that those are really key values to carry forward. This experimentation, this just try it, and to not complicate things too much. Just come around that to just trying something different. And there are guides and suggestions and worksheets. Or in our organization, we have what's called the Thich Nhat Hanh Foundation. They have a wonderful page that talks about how do you create a sangha and what are some possible formats that you can use. But I've always viewed it as completely independent of Buddhism. The Sangha that I practice with in Ojai, I would suspect that most of the people there that come on a weekly basis would not identify as Buddhists, and yet they come every week. And I read Buddhist texts, and we do Buddhist ceremonies, and they're there enjoying themselves. And they obviously are getting some kind of nourishment from that time together. I certainly am by having them there. And but we don't get into this dogmatic conversation around belief or non-belief.
Yeah, no value in that, is there? I love that it's a large Jewish and Christian audience that many might not identify as Buddhists, but they're clearly just getting a lot out of the community and these mindfulness practices. Stunning. I wanted to mention, you mentioned that it was 9/11 that caused you to reach out to a first person to become involved in a Sangha. And it was also 9/11 that caused us to create Humanities Team. Our founder is Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote the Conversations with God books. And likewise, 9/11 was just this big wake-up call where there was this awareness that, oh my gosh, collectively, there's a misunderstanding about who we are. Because if we're all one, if everything is a part of one, and there is killing, then such as on the magnitude of 9/11, clearly we're not understanding that because we're killing a part of ourselves. So that was how we came into being as well. We were founded in June 2003, so we're 13 years old and devoted to much the same work that you are here, Kenley. That's, of course, there's so much diversity in oneness, which is what we love about the Living in Oneness Summit, is we get to bring on incredible guests like yourself to talk about their particular domain and spiritual practice, wisdom, because, of course, there's one mountaintop, but there are a jillion paths, and more to the mountaintop. So it's really valuable to just sit with a guest like yourself, do something experiential like what you did with us earlier, and then explain how this all works. I want to go to something personal, but again, I want to invite people. If you've got a lot of times, everybody gets really drawn into the conversation, and then right near the end, we just get pounded with questions and comments, and there's no time then to get to them. We've got about 28 more minutes, so if you have questions or comments you want to bring in, go ahead and put them in the question window. I wanted to go back to just something personal again here, Kenley. One of the things you shared is that this shift to a Sangha radically transformed you and how you experience your own practice and your own well-being, health and well-being. I can tell just from our conversation that you're in a really incredible place now. Clearly, you're practicing mindfulness. You can see it and feel it here during the conversation. What was your life like before you came into this Sangha practice?
Well, it's an interesting question because I had, like I shared also earlier, I had been sitting by myself for about 6 years, and had considered myself a student of Thich Nhat Hanh. Was reading his books, and I had gone to see him a few times. But for some reason, I just didn't make that connection to Sangha, and even though now that I look back at my life, over the last 15 years, that he teaches about Sangha all the time. For whatever reason, I didn't incorporate that into my life during those years of practice on my own, and I think mainly it was because I had found a way to practice meditation, which was my main interest at the time. Meditation was what I wanted, and that's what I was doing, and I didn't see a motivation to participate in a group or connect with other people who were trying to do the same thing. But I will share that almost 30 years ago, in my college days, I was certainly, I just spent a lot of time with drinking and doing drugs and doing other kinds of illicit behaviors. And when I came out of that time period in my life, when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to continue living a life of partying, and that I really wanted to transform and move in a different direction, it was a few years after that I started this meditation practice. And so it came out of, so this interest in meditation arose out of my experience of alcoholism and drug addiction arising out of those years of when I was younger, and wanting to find another way to live and another way to kind of take care of myself that wasn't a chemical. And so that's my background before I discovered or came upon the meditation and mindfulness practice. And then, of course, as I said before, 9/11 happened, and I was like, oh, shoot, we've got a problem in our world, and I need to do something more than just sit on my cushion by myself in my apartment in San Francisco. And so that was what took me to the next stage in my path.
Yeah, boy, beautiful. And I'm sure, a lot of us had those days in college or high school or whatever when there was partying and things. So I'm sure many of us relate to that. But as well, even if there wasn't this going on in today's world, my gosh, where you have the media on, there's so many things. This immigration in Europe and with all of the crisis that's coming out of it, and then the polarity in politics here in the U.S. and more. These are just some of the things going on. But so having a mindfulness practice and a spiritual practice is really essential to really staying to being in health and well-being and vitality and more. Is it not? So I think I'm guessing everybody, all of us, certainly me, are finding. I'm finding practical application in all of this. Wonderful. Kenley, let me come back to what Thich Nhat Hanh shared, a while back, that the next Buddha will be a Sangha, because it's other people are sharing this using different words that, of course, many, including Humanities team, are referring to this birth that occurred, or the shift, or this awakening, this transformation. There are many ways to describe it, but that the world is actually in a process right now of morphing into something new, that something's already been born, and we're now maturing it into something new. And this, what Thich Nhat Hanh shared, the next Buddha will be a Sangha, seems to really put its finger on it. Can you talk a little bit about that in a world context, and just in terms of what you see and how things feel for you and your community?
Sure. I think that what we're trying to, or what that teaching is identifying, is the capacity of our humanity to take care of each other and take care of the earth and to take care of all living beings. And it's through that community that we have that capacity to do that. In our relationship with this idea of manifesting the Sangha, we are trying to intentionally put energy towards those things that impact the widest possible array of our world. In particular, the one that I'm most involved with right now is we have an Earth Holder Sangha, which, as you can imagine from the name, our focus is around taking care of the Earth and all those things that relate to climate change and plant-based diets and transportation and manufacturing, and how environment relates to other important topics such as the ethnic strifes that exist around the world in our communities here in the United States. And so we as a Sangha are spending time together on a regular basis, and it's a Sangha that doesn't meet in person but once a year or so. But we meet regularly on telephone calls such as this, with more people than just a couple on the line talking to each other. But we have more people talking to each other and engaging around this idea of what is the next Sangha, what is this next Buddha, this Sangha that we're manifesting, what is the most critical topic that's impacting the world, and we believe that it's around this topic of environmentalism and climate change and sustainability. And so we look for ways that we can engage with that topic through the lens of the mindfulness practice, that we're not just sitting on our cushions, but we're actually doing things in the world, and whether that's something as simple as encouraging people to experiment with a plant-based diet. That's one thing. In our next call, we're going to have next month. We're going to take a look at. It's going to be a very U.S.-centric call, but we're going to look at the presidential elections and around the topic of taking care of the earth, and what is the role of politics in earth holding. And we have a couple people that are going to share on that topic for us. And so there's different ways that, and we were also very involved with the Paris events that happened last year, the climate conference that happened in Paris, and we sent a delegation there of monastics from Plum Village, and they met with other spiritual leaders from around the world and met with the leaders of that summit. So there's big things we can do and there's little things we can do, but they all come from this idea of the Sangha, and this idea that this Sangha, the one that we're co-creating together, all around us in different ways, including what you're doing in your community, all of these pieces are moving in the direction of making a better world in which to live, and learning how to take care of each other, and learning how to take care of those things that sustain us, like the earth, because if the earth is not separate from us. When we damage the earth, we're damaging ourselves. And so how do we take care of the earth? Because in doing so, we're taking care of ourselves, we're taking care of our communities. And so that's really trying to look deeply into that interbeing nature of everything that is all around us throughout the world, our small world. And we can thank technology, we can thank the internet for awakening so many people to others' experiences around the world, because 40 years ago we wouldn't know the detail or know what's happening in Nigeria or in Syria or in Indonesia as easily as we can today. And so we can have this a lot of people are like down on technology sometimes, but at the same time we have to recognize what it's given us. It's given us this capacity to be a world community and to see that we are all connected, and that what happens here impacts what happens there, and so forth. And so that's we live in an amazing time, despite the potential for ecological disaster at any time. It's still a truly amazing time. And so how do we operate? How do we live in a way that we recognize the true precipice in which we live upon, and yet live free and live happy, and are able to take action around that, and not let that despair of everything's going to die in 20 years anyway, who cares, but to live in a way that we can have joy about the weather today and the people that we interact with, and then what are we doing to impact shifting the way that we think and the way that we act and the way that our politicians vote and so forth. So it's a really exciting time, despite the challenges that exist all around us.
Yes, it is. Clearly, it's a time of great change, and many have shared it. I believe, in Humanities Team, we believe this is the time of greatest change in the history of the planet. So it is, of course, there are huge challenges, but that means there are huge opportunities. But let me get to a couple of quick things here. One, a listener shares his voice is so soothing. You'll appreciate that your mindfulness is speaking through here. one of the listeners wanted to know, Gil in Montreal, how do you spell the location in Southern California, the Ojai? How do you spell that community?
It's Ojai. Ojai. It's a small town about 90 minutes from downtown Los Angeles. So it's up the coast a little bit.
Okay, about 90 minutes north of downtown Los Angeles, Ojai, California. And let me share, just related to your Earth Holder project. This is actually how we got in touch with you, Kenley, as we reached out to Thich Nhat Hanh with this conscious business declaration that was created by 4 NGOs. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. But Humanities Team, the Club of Budapest based out of Europe, the Goi Peace Foundation based out of Japan, and the Fowler Center for Business out of Case Western Reserve University came together to create a conscious business declaration. You can find it at consciousbussinessdeclaration.org. We reached out to Thich Nhat Hanh about signing the declaration, and of course his health is not great right now. He referred us to you, and there was a mention of just incredible things that you could talk about. The Conscious Business Declaration is emphasizing a lot of the points that you're making here, that all of life is part of a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. And that businesses and people and everything doesn't operate in a silo because, of course, that if we're interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent, part of a single reality, nothing operates in a silo. So that means that business needs to be a generator of health and well-being and for humanity and for the community and for life. So that's what this Conscious Business Declaration is about. It's saying that we all share this planet. Clearly there's exposure with climate change and the environment, and business is outputting a lot into the environment. There are many emerging businesses that are doing incredible things, organic farms and green energy and so many other incredible emerging businesses that are doing that are generators of health and well-being and positive things. But there also are whole industries like fossil fuels and parts of pharmaceutical and other industries where we're not really we're bringing harm to humanity and the planet. So the Conscious Business Declaration is saying, hey, let's pull together, let's join hands, let's create action. And one of the actions is that we go out as ambassadors in our community to talk to the Chamber of Commerce, to talk to Rotary, to talk to businesses about all focusing on conscious business, that profits are important, but let's make profits through a new bottom line, where the bottom line is taking into account the things we're talking about here, planet, people, and we'd like to talk about presence. The fourth P, presence, is this sacred in life, the divine in life, or the sacred in life. So I just share that. Let me come back here, though, Kenley. You were sharing this project of yours, Earth Holder, is big. You were giving some examples of things you're doing in your group, like experimenting with a plant-based diet. For people on this call that aren't part of your Sangha or community, what are things that you might invite them to consider? I'm sure, obviously mindfulness is something we focused on here. You've talked a little bit about things that we can do where we see the sacred, this oneness, which is humanity and life and the earth. Maybe we can just go a little deeper on this focus of your Sangha here.
Well, I think what I already shared was that I think one of the best things you can do is to connect with other people, which I think is really key, and that is because we're not in this ship of planet Earth, this great big ship here, alone. There's lots of other people out there, and so being able to connect with others on this ride that we're on is really key. When we're looking at the Earth Holder community of practice, we've done a couple of things. One is recognizing and identifying events or situations that need attention, and trying to draw attention to that in a very skillful way. And what I mean by a skillful way is to not use language that is hateful or blaming or filled with anger, but that we can impact change with loving speech, and that we can encourage corporations and governments to make change in a way that comes from compassion, that we can embody compassion in those communications. And so recently there was an incident in off the shore of Vietnam where there was all the fish have died because of a spill that occurred there, and so we tried to bring attention to the companies involved and the response of the Vietnamese government, and also knowing that this is a very poor community, and all these fishermen have lost their livelihood as a result of this. And so making small donations of funds to help bring food to these poor fishing communities along the Vietnamese coast is something that we've been working on. And then the other one was that I mentioned is this plant-based diet idea, which I'm sure many people have heard of. That eating a meal that's based in food production that's like beef or any type of other meat product is very intensive on the earth, as well as if you're in Southern California, we're really concerned about water. So there are a lot more water needs around that. And so by shifting some of our diet towards a plant-based diet, we're eating closer to taking care of the planet. And so it's not to say, everyone needs to be a vegan type of thing. It's more of like, okay, well, if you eat a couple meals a week with beef, maybe you take it down to one, that type of thing, and start to try to reflect on where your food is coming from and the impact that food production has on the planet as a whole, and shifting things around that way.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm guessing that many of us are on at least a partial plant-based diet. Gosh, there's so much great education around about it. And of course, the circumstances can vary. In our home, I was interested to see a few years ago that the Dalai Lama is not vegetarian, but it's because, or vegan, but it's because he got sick when he went to an all plant-based diet. And so some people, I've got an 11 and 14-year-old in my home. My 14-year-old, it's hard to get any protein in him. So we have a little bit of like chicken and stuff. So the circumstances in our home can be different, but boy, a plant-based diet can really be tasty, and of course it's so healthful and helps to just create a great day because your digestive system has an easier time with it. At least this is true for many people, not all. Again, our diet circumstances vary. I loved what you were talking about there as you were talking about, I'll call it unity in action, where you were saying you were recognizing events draw attention to things, and of course our language is what's out in the lead of our activism. So you were sharing you all, of course, don't focus on hateful or a negative energy with your language, that you're instead focusing on embodying compassion with your language. So I love that. I just absolutely love that because there is so much information out there, so much education that speaks to whatever our focus is, we create. So where we, for example, in today's world with the polarity in politics and the immigration crisis with ISIS and et cetera, I think it can be easy to fall into the trap of just pushing against it and resisting it and calling it hateful things. But nothing's accomplished there. That we even make it stronger. Deepak Chopra said that perhaps Donald J. Trump is a part of the collective shadow, and if that's true, then the way to heal this is to heal within ourselves those things that we're pushing against. that we're resisting instead of calling it wrong. So just to put that out there, I think it is so effective to embody compassion in our action, unity in action, not make things stronger by pushing against them or resisting them, but instead healing them. And that was really also your focus when you were talking about mindfulness practices and where things are occurring, you were mentioning earlier, with a coworker or a family member or whatever, not pushing against something, but just recognizing that it's here and how can I support you? How can I heal you? So just want to acknowledge the great work here in these practices that you all have developed. We've got actually I need to go into a closing here, Kenley, but what are the websites that people can go to follow your work?
Well, for me personally, you can certainly find me on the social media landscape, Twitter and Facebook, with my first name and last name, which is Kenley Niehm. So Kenley Niehm. I also have a website. It's kenleyniehfeld.com. And so those are places you can find me. In terms of our community, I would suggest you could visit Thich Nhat Hanh Foundation. And if you don't know how to spell Thich Nhat Hanh, you could probably Google it, and Google will figure out how the spelling should be. But it's ThichNhatHanhFoundation.org has a great resource of material there. And then where Ty, our teacher, lives is Plum Village, and that's plumvillage.org. So feel free to reach out through any of those means. And Earthholder, there's an Earthholder website too. It's earthholder.org.
Great. Well, Kenley, thank you so much for being here. Wow, just really a fabulous hour here with you. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, your heart energy, and as the one listener brought through, your voice is so soothing.
Thank you for having me.
Really, your presence is felt here during this call, so thank you so much. I want to just come back to this Conscious Business Declaration real quick. Humanities in the Club of Budapest and Goy Peace Foundation, together with the Fowler Center for Business, created this Conscious Business Declaration because we too, just like your Sangha, feel that this is the area that's just ripe right now for change, where we can focus on things that we can do, tangible things that we can do to create a healthful earth. So that's what this whole Conscious Business Declaration is about, and invite you to go there, check it out. If you resonate with it, to sign it and become an ambassador for it. Also, related to that, if you resonate with it, don't miss these free Conscious Business webinars that we've created. There's actually one here that starts in 2 minutes. So it's with the Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, who's also based out of Southern California. It starts at 9 o'clock Pacific, Los Angeles time. That's in a couple of minutes. It starts right after this program. Then there's one on Saturday, this coming Saturday the 10th at 9 o'clock Pacific with Alan Watkins, who's out of Europe. There's one with Andrew Harvey on Thursday the 13th of September at 12 Pacific time. One on, let's see, I think I meant Wednesday the 13th, 12 Pacific time. Then Thursday the 14th at 9 Pacific time with Neil Donald Walsh. And then the final sort of grand finale is Conscious Business webinars on the 15th of September. That's with Ken Wilber, Elizabeth Sartoris, who's the biologist, and Alan Watkins. And that's a big live Q&A session. You can go to join these webinars. You can go to Facebook, the Humanities Team Worldwide page, right at the top of the page right now, which is a large community. It's about 580-something thousand people. And at the top, you'll see a little item there with a picture of Michael Beckwith. So you can click on the link to register. Also, you can go to the Humanities Team website, and you'll see Conscious Business at the top. There's a pull-down there. You can just pull down free webinar, and you can also register that way. So encourage you to stay on, go over to that, and listen to Michael Beckwith talk about how we can create a conscious business environment globally here in about a minute. We also have some upcoming programs that you don't want to miss. On Thursday, September 15th, I'm going to be interviewing Tom Zender. He's a professional CEO, mentor, author, and speaker. We're going to talk about this emerging conscious business movement. That call is at 9 o'clock Pacific time. That's a big day because also several hours later at 12 noon is this live Q&A that I mentioned with Ken Wilber, Elizabeth Santoris, and Ellen Watkins. So you can bring any questions that you might have to that program and register in the way that I described. For these Living in Oneness Summit calls, such as today's and next week's, you can go to livinginone.com to register. All of our programs are free. And if you miss the program, we do send out a little thank you note with a link and for 48 hours free listening. Also, Global Oneness Day is just around the corner. This is our Earth Day for an Awakened Humanity. It's always on October 24th, which is United Nations Day as well. That's a Monday this year. If you want to look at the incredible program that's been pulled together, go to globalonenesssummit.org. That's globalonenesssummit.org. You can register for free, and if you miss the program, again, we'll send out a link for free listening. So thank you again, Kenley. Thanks so much for being here. Really just have enjoyed this hour with you. Also want to thank my colleagues, Nanette Kennedy, Dee Meyer, and Monica Augustine, who are running this program. And last, definitely not least, I want to thank all of you, the listeners, who have made it a priority to be here with us for today's program. And in closing, I want to invite everyone on this call to really live as one with the divine in each other. This is ultimate reality, and this is one of the best ways to spread the invitation of oneness, and it's how we'll create the world that we've all dreamed about and envisioned, as we know we already are all one. So let's embody it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in a few minutes for this during this Conscious Business webinar with Michael Bernard Beckwith. I'm part of that also. See you there if you're so inclined. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.